So last week, Pastor Matt introduced us to this great new series about being kind and all the different aspects involved in that. He talked about justice, about being just. And in the coming weeks, you'll hear about being humble, being one, and being charitable, all around this same scripture from Micah that we've been looking at. Today, I want to talk to you specifically about kindness, about being kind. Now, before I get too far into things, I want to take a minute and have you get your thoughts rolling. I've been already doing my own thinking and talking to people and praying. Before I share what I found, I want to bring it to you. What does kindness mean to you? Take a couple minutes, turn to your neighbor, make sure everybody's got somebody to talk to, and just let somebody hear you know what kindness means to you.
Kindness. My dad is waiting for both my kids so I can have a little time to do stuff at home. Here's another kindness word.
Alright, if you want to start wrapping up and bring it back up here. So hopefully that kind of gets your thoughts flowing on kindness and what that looks like for you. I think kindness is so important. You know, especially in this world where we often find ourselves divided. Kindness heals individuals and relationships. Kindness bridges gaps. I would go so far as to say that kindness can even save lives. But what is it? Well, to begin to tell you, I'd like to share with you about this rock. So, this rock doesn't look like much, does it? It's just nothing extraordinarily about the color or the shape. It's just a dark gray rock, kind of shaped like a triangle a little bit. But this rock's very important to me. So I love rock hunting. I always have, but the last few years especially, I've taken an extra bit of interest in rock hunting. So wherever there's rocks, I find myself looking at the ground, searching for what grabs my eye. It doesn't matter if it's a lake or a pond or just a gravel road. I can't wait to check out all the cool rock hunting places in Michigan over the next few years. Well, a couple years, I was still pretty early in my rock hunting phase. I was up at Lewiston, which is kind of near the Grayling-Gaylord area, and I was at a small beach with my family. I was walking along the water with my eyes to the ground when someone called over to me. "Hey, are you a rock hound?" My first thought was stranger danger. Then my logical mind took over, and I remembered that I am an adult, and it was broad daylight at a family beach with 7 people I knew a few yards away out of town. So, my second, more helpful thought was, sure, I'd love to be considered a rock hound, but please leave me alone to my hunting. However, my mama didn't raise no ill-mannered child, so I politely responded that I loved rocks and enjoyed seeing whatever I could find. Well, horror of horrors, for an introvert like me, who was currently spending a weekend in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with 9 other people, the young man came over, beginning to tell me about the rocks that he was finding. I rolled my eyes, internally of course, because remember, Mama's raising, and I patiently nodded along for a minute. But after a moment, I really started listening. I actually began paying attention and realized that not only was what the young man was sharing very interesting, but it was also incredibly personal. He was sharing about the peace and escape that he found out rock hounding and why he needed that peace in his life. After sharing some of his story, he thanked me for listening and said he had something for me. First, he gave me a true treasure. It was a small Petoskey stone that he had found at the beach that day. Then he handed me 2 other rocks that he felt were Native American tools because of their shape and how they fit in your hand. Now, I'm not a geologist or archaeologist or anything, so I don't know the truth of that, but nonetheless, these rocks are very special to me, and this is one of them. That young man was so kind. He shared treasures with me, both tangible and intangible. He gave me some beautiful rocks that he had found, but he also shared a personal story, trusted me with part of who he is. What a beautiful kindness that was. And I almost missed it, because I was so wrapped up in my own comfort zone and what I thought I needed, that I was this close to missing out completely. I've asked around trying to see what kindness means to others, and I got this list of responses online. Comfort, compassion, a smile, lack of judgment, good treatment of other people, giving time, putting others ahead of yourself. In combinations, I also heard talk of caring for those less fortunate or those that are having health problems, taking care of animals in the world around us, and just finding different ways to show love. Kindness can be found in unexpected places, from unexpected people, even more unexpected than my rock hound friend. Viktor Frankl wrote a very powerful book called Man's Search for Meaning, and it discussed his experiences as a prisoner in a concentration camp in World War II. And the book talks about different ways people find purpose and meaning in their lives. But there was one part that really struck me. In discussing the nature of people, Frankl said this: "It's apparent that the mere knowledge that a man was either a camp guard or a prisoner tells us almost nothing. Human kindness can be found in all groups, even those which as a whole it would be easy to condemn. The boundaries between groups overlapped, and we must not try to simplify matters by saying that these men were angels and these men were devils." Frankl goes on to tell stories of compassionate camp guards who did their best to try and help the prisoners in any ways that they could. And on the flip side, seemingly heartless prisoners driven by desperation to be abusive and derisive toward their fellow men. You never know where kindness can be found, even in places of great despair and pain. Through this series, we've been looking at one main verse from Micah. "He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God." Kindness in this verse is also sometimes translated as mercy or compassion, or steadfast love. I actually really like how the Amplified version of the Bible puts it: to love diligently, practice kindness and compassion. This is just one of many, many, many verses in the Bible that talk about kindness. The word translated in kindness as the Bible is actually a super interesting word. The Hebrew word is hesed. Hesed doesn't translate precisely to kindness, and it turns out it's actually a pretty difficult word to translate into English, because it's this whole group of ideas. It's love, mercy, kindness, goodness, favor, loving kindness, compassion, concern, caring, help, loyalty. Hesed, it's steadfast and sturdy. It's something you can rely on, something that'll hold you up. It can actually be summed up by this really cool phrase, loyal love. It's not necessarily that exciting, heart-pounding, passionate kind of love, but it's there when you need it. It's not even a feeling, really. It's more of a behavior. It's more of a way of life. This kindness, this hesed, this loyal love, that's the love that God offers to us. In Colossians, we find this verse: "Put on then as God's chosen ones, holy in the love, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. and let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. We put on God's love. We find the peace of Christ. God's Spirit fills us with compassion, kindness, and humility. God forgives us. And then comes the next part. As God offers us this kindness, so we are expected to then offer this kindness to others. There's another verse in Zechariah that says this, "Thus says the Lord of hosts, render true judgments, show kindness and mercy to one another. Do not oppress the widow, the fatherless, the sojourner, or the poor, and let none of you devise evil against another in your hearts." God offers us hesed, or loving kindness, and we're to offer it to each other. Not just to our loved ones, to those who are closest to us, but to all God's children. The widow, the orphan, the traveler, the poor. And then conversely, those other people that we don't necessarily hear about as much, but the happy couple, the loved child, the homebody, the rich, all God's children deserve our kindness. Now, this doesn't mean we don't have disagreements. This doesn't mean we don't have hard conversations. This doesn't mean that we don't take care of ourselves and get out of unsafe situations, have boundaries with what we do. But it does mean that we have difficult conversations with respect and civility. We try to do more listening and less talking. We work together to find solutions and compromises. We find things in others, even others that maybe aren't our favorite people, but we find things in them that we can support and recognize and lift up. We strive to be reliable and loyal, being there in ways we can, and not going behind others' backs. We reach out to those that might need a smile or a helping hand or a listening ear. John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, put it like this: we do all the good we can by all the means we can, in all the ways we can, in all the places we can, at all the times we can, to all the people we can, as long as we ever can. And as we do this, we remember that we're people too, showing ourselves kindness and grace. Sometimes hesed is going to mean sacrifice. Sometimes it's going to mean getting out of your comfort zone. I remember one time my son Sam and I were kayaking over on Park Lake. It was after a long day of work, and honestly, I didn't really even want to go kayaking in the first place, but they were borrowed kayaks that were going back very soon. So I mustered up my energy and loaded them up, and we headed out. When we were making our way out on the water, there was a woman on the shore with a toddler. I smiled over at him, and we chatted for a minute about kayaks before Sam and I went out. We went out for about an hour or so and then headed back in. When we landed on the shore, the mother and the toddler were still there. Now there was another child with them. I gave the mom a nod, and then I focused on getting the kayaks wiped down and loaded back in the car, and we got all loaded up and ready to go, and I saw her trying to take a picture of herself and both girls with a cell phone. So she had the cell phone, and she had a squirmy toddler and a baby, and she was really struggling to get a picture. Just like with my fellow rock hound on the beach that day, my every instinct screamed to just go away, to not open the door, just stick to my introverted ways and just go home. But at that time, I've been trying to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more and watch for opportunities to share love with others, actually asking God to help me find ways to share love more. And, be careful what you ask for, because God has really been showing God's thing and giving me those opportunities. I didn't sense an actual physical danger here or anything, so I turned back and walked across the parking lot and offered to take a picture of the three girls together. Sam danced around me behind the kids, or behind my camera, to get the kids' attention, so they'd look at the camera, and I snapped a few pictures. This was one of the pictures. I blocked out their faces because I don't have mom's permission, but that's one of the pictures. I lowered the camera when I realized that the mother was crying. Now, if you know me at all, you know emotions are not my forte. So once again, every fiber of my being is screaming to run away. But obviously that would not be the right thing to do. So I sat down beside her and I asked her what was wrong. She poured out a heartbreaking story of loss and loneliness, telling me that no one had ever tried to take a picture of her with her girls. We sat for over an hour on that shore together, just talking and watching the kids play by the water. The incredible power of the small act of kindness. Literally just offering to take a picture. I mean, maybe it was out of my comfort zone, sure, but really not a big sacrifice in the scheme of things for me. But I believe in my heart that it helped that woman feel seen, feel some of God's love for just a small moment in time, and hopefully made some sort of difference in her life. A smile, a gift, some time, a listening ear, a kind word, a compliment. Like the kid said, just telling somebody you like their hair, sharing your toys. A card. Or when you can, something bigger. Help taking care of their house, sitting with a friend at the hospital through a procedure. A gift of something that someone can't get for themselves. Helping somebody achieve a bucket list experience. A heartfelt and honest letter about how loved they are. Childcare. Be open to those opportunities to share kindness, to share hesed, to share that loyal love with others. Be willing to step a bit outside of your comfort zone and do a kind thing. Reach out, share a smile or a kind word. Have healthy boundaries, care for yourself, but do what you can to bear with each other, showing grace and forgiveness. Being willing to forgive and try again if it's safe and healthy. Accept God's love and kindness into your heart and allow it to overflow from your heart into the rest of the world. One last argument for kindness in case you're not yet convinced. There's an article from the Mayo Clinic that expounds on the benefits that kindness has for those who practice it. According to the Mayo Clinic, kindness has been shown to increase self-esteem, empathy and compassion, and improve mood. It can decrease blood pressure and cortisol, a hormone directly correlated with stress levels. People who give of themselves in a balanced way also tend to be healthier and live longer. Physiologically, kindness can positively change your brain by boosting levels of serotonin and dopamine. These neurotransmitters produce feelings of satisfaction and well-being, and they cause the pleasure and reward centers in your brain to light up. Endorphins, your body's natural painkiller, also may be released when you show kindness. That's from the Mayo Clinic. Living a life of kindness can actually improve your health, mentally and physically. Even when it's hard, kindness makes a difference. Having a bad day? Perform 2 acts of kindness. Twice the mood improvement, twice the natural painkillers, twice the serotonin and dopamine. This is nothing but wins here, folks. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God? Show kindness and respect to others, not because of who they are, but because of whose they are. Remember that everyone around you is a beloved child of God, including the person that you see in the mirror every day. Live a life covered in kindness, hesed, loyal love. Every single day is an opportunity to share a bit of kindness, to trust others with the gift of a beautiful rock, or to offer a listening ear, to act in kindness at those times when the exact opposite of what's expected of you by others in society. Every day is an opportunity to change a life and maybe even change the world. Can I pray for you? God, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, help us to set aside bitterness, hate, and strife, and instead turn to love. Help us to have the tough conversations with kindness and attempts to listen and understand. Give us strength to reach out, to share a smile, to share a moment of peace and silence, even if these things are outside of our comfort zone. Help the seeds of kindness that we plant grow into mighty trees that are evidence of your love. We are forever grateful for the hesed, the loyal love that you shower upon us, and are honored to have the privilege of taking that love out into the world. Amen. In a moment here, we'll be